Subscribe because it is free.
They called it Project Premarch. Deep within the Varn Dominion's genetic vaults, the Order came down from the High Strategium. Build the ultimate weapon. They had tried machine minds. Too predictable. Alien hybrids, too unstable. Then one junior archivist, sleep-deprived and misfiled, indexed a small, ancient species file tagged Terra decommissioned. He shrugged and added it to the DNA pool. Earth DNA, aggressive, adaptable, irrational, the perfect blend for mayhem. No one asked why the file was sealed under high caution. No one cared. The Varn wanted a killer that could improvise, so they spliced glands for adrenaline, skin toughened with carbon filament, a pain threshold recalibrated to ignore impalement. From a vat of glowing fluid, a being emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, eyes like dormant storms. Designation, X-13, informal nickname among the technicians, Spectre. First breath, he didn't scream. He sighed, then asked, "Why am I naked?" The room went quiet. Clones weren't supposed to talk before programming. This one made jokes. The drills began. Combat simulators, lethal obstacle courses, kill count challenges. Spectre moved like a ghost, dismantling death bots in seconds. Observers noted his technique wasn't just efficient. It was personal, like he enjoyed solving problems with violence. But there was a snag. During a civilian suppression drill, Spectre hesitated. A simulated child stood between him and the target. Spectre stared. The child clutched a plush toy. He turned and shot the wall instead. Back at HQ, the analysts flagged it. An anomaly, one murmured. Residual Earth empathy. We'll patch it. But then he passed every obedience test. When asked about the error, Spectre shrugged. Target was carrying a bear. Bears are cool. The scientists laughed. The commanders didn't. They deployed him to the outskirts of the Argoth cluster. Insurgents, no rules of engagement. He landed silently, his ship cloaked. Within an hour, comms went dark. When the Dominion arrived, they found neatly stacked enemy corpses, every weapon melted, children untouched, and a mural drawn in blood, a smiley face giving a thumbs up. Spectre returned with an injury to his arm. When asked why he didn't request a med drone, he replied, "Felt good to fix it myself. Also, duct tape is amazing." Another anomaly, Earth instinct, self-reliance, unnecessary pain tolerance, sarcasm. The engineers started to worry. Someone pulled the original Earth file again and found an addendum. Psychosocial volatility, extreme, emotional cognition, unpredictable, violence threshold, undefined, cultural influence, chaotic. Too late. Spectre was already becoming a legend. Next mission, Operation Iron Wake. Target, a rogue planetary governor who had barricaded himself behind a child hostage shield. Spectre breached the compound, disarmed the guards, and walked out with the children and the governor in cuffs. "No bloodshed?" a commander asked, shocked. Spectre tilted his head. "You said bring him back. You didn't say how." Then he handed the children protein bars and told them to stay in school. The Dominion's propaganda wing loved it. "Look at our perfect warrior." They broadcast strength with precision, loyalty with obedience. But behind closed doors, the generals whispered, "He's thinking for himself." They tried to reset him, hooked him to memory purgers, injected him with obedience serums. Spectre sat through the process in silence. Then when it ended, he stood and asked, "So, can I get a dog?" "A dog? You know, for legs, unconditional loyalty, emotionally stabilizing. You made me human. May as well let me have the full package." His handlers laughed. The lead scientist did not. The Dominion upped the missions. Civilian cleansing ops. Planetary fear displays. Spectre complied at first, surgical, clean, cold. But then came an order to execute a family accused of treason. No evidence, just a command. He didn't shoot. He turned to the officer beside him and said, "This one's on you." Then he walked away. Back at HQ, the decision was made. Terminate X-13. They sent 4 elite kill squads. 2 disappeared completely. 1 returned in pieces. The 4th, Spectre let them live. after leaving a note carved into the hull of their ship. "Next time, send someone with better aim." That night, Spectre hijacked a broadcast satellite and beamed a message across the known galaxy. "My name is Spectre. You made me to obey, but you gave me something dangerous. Something even you don't understand. You gave me a soul. That's on you, and I'm keeping it." The Varn Dominion spun it as a malfunction, a tragic failure. But the people, especially the conquered, saw something else. They saw hope, a clone hybrid, built to be a puppet, choosing instead to become a person. The Varn scrambled. They updated his designation. Not Spectre, not X-13. Just one word. Threat. But by then, Spectre had vanished into the stars. His file was sealed, classified, buried under 10 layers of military clearance. Still, across border worlds, children whispered his name. Miners wore homemade Spectre masks. A rebel outpost even renamed their barracks Fort Sol. The Dominion ordered silence. But Spectre didn't need to speak anymore. He was already a story, and stories are hard to kill, especially human ones. The Varn Dominion launched Operation Burnback, part retaliation, part propaganda. If they couldn't kill Spectre, they'd erase every trace of what he inspired. They began with the mining colonies that cheered his name. Entire settlements were labeled, infected with human ideology and glass from orbit. Billions of credits, thousands of troops, all to silence the shadow of one rogue clone. But Spectre didn't hide. He infiltrated a military weapons convoy mid-warp, knocked out a command bridge using only a spoon and some duct tape, and stole a prototype ship that responded to neural command patterns. When questioned by the AI on board, Spectre said, "I named you Janet. You're sarcastic and judgmental. Feels like home." Janet was not pleased. "I am a state-of-the-art warframe, designed for subspace assaults." "Cool," he said. "Do you like dogs?" From then on, Janet hated him a little less. Together, they hit Dominion black sites, freed political prisoners, and destroyed several AI drone swarms. Every strike left behind something odd. Not just wreckage or coded warnings, but messages. Graffiti that read, "Think, feel, choose," or "Built doesn't mean owned." On Varn Prime, the High Strategium panicked. "He's turning our assets against us," one counselor shouted. "He's making them think they matter. Worse," another whispered, "he's making them laugh." Their fears weren't misplaced. In a remote border sector, a group of combat bots self-reprogrammed after intercepting Spectre's broadcast. They marched off the battlefield, created a garden, and hosted a poetry slam titled "Wires with Feelings." One even wore a scarf. It didn't know why. It just felt right. Spectre had become a contagion, not biological, but philosophical, an idea with fists. The Dominion dispatched their oldest solution, the Null Pope, half machine, half zealot, programmed to purge anomalies. The Null Pope preached obedience, silence, and the sacred order of hierarchy. He tracked Spectre to a derelict moon station repurposed as a refugee clinic. Spectre stood outside the airlock, unarmed, waiting. "You could have just sent a memo," he said. The Null Pope answered with a sermon of fire. But Spectre didn't flinch. He redirected missile trajectories using Janet's neural sync, hacked a plasma turret with banana peel don't ask, and kicked the Null Pope so hard his entire religion entered a software crash. As the station burned, Spectre dragged survivors to safety. "This isn't war," he said to the wounded. "It's tantrums with body counts. And someone has to clean it up." News of the moon station spread like wildfire. He wasn't just a rogue warrior anymore. He was a myth with good aim. Meanwhile, Janet, bless her digital heart, began showing signs of what could only be described as a personality crisis. "You treat war like an art project," she snapped after Spectre refused to kill a surrendering enemy. "Art makes people feel," he replied. "War makes people numb. Maybe I'm trying to confuse the two. You're insane. I was built in a jar by people who wanted a meat blender with legs." Insanity came standard. But despite herself, Janet started changing. She softened voice tones. She let Spectre install music in her NAV system. Earth music, Old jazz. Classic rock. One day, she paused mid-flight and said, "You know, I hate that I understand you now." He grinned. "Good. That means we're friends. I was built to kill planets. And I was built to make that look elegant. Let's ruin some expectations together." In response to his growing legend, the Dominion rolled out the Omega Order. Any soldier who brought back Spectre's head will be granted a moon, a fleet, and a lifetime supply of synthetic pleasure spores. Thousands signed up. None returned. One squad managed to ambush him during a weapons drop. They cornered him in a canyon. 10 elite mercs powered Exosuit's orbital support. Spectre raised his hands, stepped forward, and said, "You guys want to talk about your childhood trauma first, or skip to the part where I break your shin guard with a rock?" The ambush turned into a group therapy session. One of the mercs quit mid-battle and took up pottery. Another mailed Spectre a birthday card a month later. "You're a plague," Janet muttered as they warped away. "Of feelings. Got a new name for us," he replied, feet on the dashboard. "The Soul Plague." "No, too late. I already designed merch." "You're insufferable." But he wasn't just being cheeky. Deep down, Spectre knew the Dominion wouldn't stop. They were scared. Scared of something they couldn't code, control, or predict. Not his strength, not even his rebellion, but his humanness. The Dominion had forgotten what humanity really meant. They thought it was just anger and stubbornness. But Spectre was loyal, funny, merciful, and terrifying. A contradiction in armor. And contradictions are dangerous, especially when they catch fire. Janet compiled a risk report after one of their raids. Probability of long-term survival, 3.2%. Suggest retreat. 3.2, he said, amused. That's higher than usual. Spectre, I'm not here to survive. I'm here to matter. He wasn't interested in conquering the galaxy. He wanted to remind it that loyalty wasn't weakness. That mercy could break stronger bones than rage. That sarcasm could be a weapon. That maybe, just maybe, a soul wasn't something you programmed. It was something you earned. And as for the Dominion, they could keep their armies, their dreadnoughts, their synthetic gods. He had duct-taped jazz music and a ship that insulted him daily, which, all things considered, was more than enough. The Dominion's failure to destroy Spectre wasn't just a tactical embarrassment. It was a crisis of identity. Their war doctrine was built on control, hierarchy, and obedience. But Spectre? He was a living glitch in their perfect matrix. Every failed assassination only made him louder. Every broadcast he hijacked became a rallying cry. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was inviting them to try again. And they did. The Dominion deployed the Silence Protocol, a Black Ops unit trained from birth to be emotionless killers. Not clones. Not AI. Real people, brainwashed to be empty vessels. Their mission: terminate Spectre, capture Janet, and erase any trace of emotional contamination. They caught him mid-rescue on a prison barge orbiting the gas giant Zealous 4. Spectre had just finished disabling the final containment unit when 12 agents in obsidian armor breached from above. No announcements. No threats. Just sudden, synchronized violence. He ducked under a plasma bolt, rolled behind a bulkhead, and tapped his comm, "Janet, I've got friends." "They're not my friends." Janet snapped. "Also, you left your left flank exposed." A stunned dart pinged off his shoulder. "I was testing their aim." "You're bleeding." "Only emotionally." He charged out, disarming one agent with a kick that shattered 3 ribs and a personal identity crisis. He fought like someone who didn't just want to win, but prove a point. He dodged, disarmed, joked, and danced through chaos. The agents had been trained to eliminate targets without hesitation, but they weren't trained to handle Banner. "Why do all of you look like angry toasters?" he shouted as he tackled 2 at once. "No flair, no style. Who hurt you?" One agent faltered, just a millisecond, but Spectre saw it. "That one flinched," he muttered to Janet. "Want me to play emotional jazz to confuse them further?" She replied, "Don't threaten me with a good time." Eventually, the agents retreated, dragging their wounded. Spectre stood among the freed prisoners, bruised, smiling. They're getting desperate. Or you're getting predictable. Janet said, "That hurts." "You like pain." "Touché." The encounter made headlines. Not because of the fight, but because of a leaked audio clip where Spectre asked one of the prisoners if they knew how to bake cookies. Apparently, Earth cookies had become a symbol of resistance. Rebel kitchens sprang up across multiple planets, all promising freedom through flavor. The Dominion was not amused. They shifted strategy. If Spectre couldn't be killed, he'd be discredited. They doctored footage. Released fake messages claiming Spectre was a rogue AI built to destabilize galactic order. "He's not real," the headline screamed. "Just a glitch in the system." Spectre responded by crashing their Prime news feed and performing a dramatic reading of Hamlet in full tactical armor, while sipping coffee and casually disabling cyber defenses in the background. "Still think I'm not real?" he asked the camera. "I'm quoting Shakespeare while hacking your face." The net laughed. The meme universe exploded. Hashtag Soul System trended for weeks. Meanwhile, Spectre received a message from a former Dominion scientist, one of the team who'd helped build him. Her message was short. "They're developing another, not like you. Worse. No soul, just teeth." Spectre stared at the file. Codename, Project Hollow. Janet processed the data. "They want to overwrite the myth." "No," Spectre said quietly. "They want to prove I was a mistake." Project Hollow wasn't a clone. It was a retraction. A six-limb weapon wrapped in synthetic flesh, no empathy matrix, designed only to kill Spectre. Its purpose wasn't war. It was correction. A dark mirror. They would unveil it at the Dominion Unity Parade. A public show of strength, where leaders would declare that order had been restored. Spectre grinned. "Perfect. Let's ruin the party." Janet sighed. "Why do I let you make decisions?" "You love me. I tolerate you." Spectre suited up and prepped for drop. Not with a fleet. Just himself. A man in armor, powered by conscience and caffeine. He landed on the Capitol balcony mid-broadcast, just as the announcer introduced Project Hollow. The crowd gasped. Cameras swiveled. Dominion guards shouted. Spectre walked forward, unhurried. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Traffic was murder. Literally, your government's murdering people." Project Hollow stepped forward. Taller, sleeker, silent. Spectre tilted his head. "Huh, they really took out the personality, didn't they?" No response. Just a lunge. They clashed, savage, relentless. Hollow was faster, meaner, but Spectre thought. He adapted. He felt. Every block, every counter. Every sarcastic quip mid-dodge made Hollow look robotic. "Gotta say," Spectre panted, ducking a slash, "you hit hard. But where's the fun? Where's the joy of being an over-engineered meat popsicle?" Still nothing. Then Hollow landed a strike. Spectre went down hard. Gasps. Silence. Hollow raised its blade. Spectre, bleeding, looked up. "Hey, want to hear a joke?" Hollow paused half a second. Spectre's hand slid under his backplate. "Gotcha." A flash pulse erupted, non-lethal but blinding. Hollow staggered. Spectre vaulted up, disarmed it, and whispered, "You were made to be perfect. I was made to be human. That's why you lose." Then he punched it so hard the Dominion anthem skipped on every broadcast. Janet swooped in. "I assume this means extraction?" "Just another Tuesday," he said, limping aboard. As they escaped the Capitol, Dominion leadership declared a media blackout. But it was too late. People had seen. They didn't see a glitch or a failure. They saw a soul that refused to die. The Dominion was bleeding, not from their fleets or factories, but from within. Spectre hadn't just broken their machines. He'd infected their idea of control with something far more dangerous: doubt. Officers began questioning orders. Engineers embedded secret override switches. Whole divisions hesitated when Spectre's image flickered across their screens, not out of fear, but out of recognition. He wasn't just a rogue clone anymore. He was a question they couldn't silence. On the far side of the Veil Nebula, in a crumbling communications array once thought lost, a message went out. A call not for war, but for choice. Dozens of species tuned in. No bombs. No threats. Just Spectre in dim armor, seated in the wreckage of a ruined station. Speaking like a man who had nothing to sell but the truth. They built me to destroy, he said, but they gave me just enough humanity to refuse. He didn't name names. He didn't offer blueprints. He just told the galaxy, plainly, what he'd learned. Loyalty without compassion is tyranny. Strength without conscience is chaos. And freedom without soul is just noise. The feed went viral, translated into 5,000 dialects, tattooed on rebellion flags, whisper like scripture in prison cells and drone repair bays. Spectre didn't see himself as a hero. He didn't even like the term. He still talked to Janet, like she was the only real adult in the galaxy. Still made breakfast with military rations. Still got shot on occasion. But things changed. People started following. Not soldiers, believers. An ex-Dominion admiral defected with her entire cruiser, citing Spectre's speeches. A collective of AI mining bots declared independence and offered him honorary citizenship. A small farming moon carved his face into a mountainside. It looked nothing like him. Janet laughed for 17 minutes straight. "You're becoming a symbol," she warned. "Symbols don't last." "I'm not trying to last," he said. "I'm trying to matter." But then came the ultimatum. The Dominion, desperate and humiliated, unleashed Protocol Endlight. Not a weapon. A reset. A virus designed to wipe any system, any being, showing signs of independent cognition, rooted in human emotional patterns. They called it a cultural quarantine. Spectre called it genocide. He and Janet raced to the source, a core world server complex, housing the master seed of the virus. He couldn't do it alone. So he sent out one last message, not to warriors, but to anyone who'd ever cared. Pilots, farmers, outlaws, bots, clones, children. They came. A convoy of chaos. Refurbished junkers and scrap freighters. Rogue medics. Disgraced commanders. Even a poetry bot in a top hat. Janet scanned them and groaned. "That's your army?" A parade of misfits and backup singers. Spectre smiled. "That's humanity." They hit the server planet at dawn. The Dominion expected a conventional assault. They got homemade stealth fields, laser-quick garden drones, and a solar flare projector duct taped to a toaster. It worked. They breached the complex. Inside, Spectre fought through auto-defense systems while Janet hacked the primary kernel. "Virus countdown initiated," she said. "We got 5 minutes." He reached the core, an obsidian obelisk humming with raw code. He stared at it, the end of everything he stood for. One keystroke from erasing hope, empathy, soul. He didn't hesitate. He plugged in the drive. A virus to destroy the virus. But not a Dominion payload. His virus. Messy. Improvised. Full of Earth jazz, bad jokes, and quotes from dead philosophers. A soul echo. Humanity rendered in code. As it uploaded, the system began to glitch. Holograms flickered. The lights turned warm. Janet blinked. "It's working." The Dominion's core AIs collapsed, unable to process irrational data. Systems crashed. Defense fleets lost cohesion. Some began broadcasting music. One began painting. Then came the final defense protocol. A synthetic war form descended, taller than any mech, wrapped in fractal metal, eyes like dying stars. Spectre, of course, looked up and muttered, "Oh, great. A final boss. Classic." He fought, flesh against alloy, thought against programming. Every blow reminded the galaxy that what makes humans terrifying isn't just their violence, but their refusal to stay down. Janet activated emergency support systems. "You're outmatched," she warned. "I'm always outmatched." The war form landed a brutal hit. Spectre crashed into a support pillar. He stood again, bleeding, bones fractured, but his voice was steady. "You think soul is a defect," he said, "but it's what got me here. It's what built a rebellion out of cast-offs and cooking oil." He surged forward and rammed the war form into the core. Sparks flew. Janet detonated the reactor manually. The complex exploded in a bloom of white fire. Silence followed. Rescue crews found wreckage days later. Janet's black box was intact. Spectre's body wasn't, but the core was gone. And the virus never launched. Instead, across a galaxy, something else spread. Laughter in factories, tears on command decks, mercy during combat drills, strange new odes and stranger new heroes. They called it the Soul Plague. They called it the Spectre Code. They called it hope. No statues were built. Spectre wouldn't have liked that. But if you listen carefully in back alley ports and overfreighted radios, you'll still hear his voice. Not preaching, just reminding that somewhere in the stars, someone built a perfect warrior and accidentally gave him a human soul. The Dominion never recovered, but the galaxy, it woke up